The sixth skill check is swinging everything. The bad habit here is a combination. A lot of players in these ranks have floor crosshair placement, but there are also many players who understand the concept of crosshair placement but just don't leave room for their own reaction time, which is a mistake I made for like 6 months in CSGO. On top of this, many of these players have a knee-jerk reaction to shoot as soon as they realize a player is peeking them. By making a super big wide swing, you can get past their crosshair and destroy them while they are busy shooting behind you. I use this occasionally if I keep getting wrecked by peeking close, or if I notice that wide swinging always seems to work. There is a certain point where if opponents frag too quickly on a close peek, it's likely because they aren't moving their crosshair, meaning they are holding the angle super close as well. This skill check does not mean that a player should move in a blocky fashion. Clear angles cleanly to make sure that wide swinging is a safer move. Then get close to the wall and swing out. The most common mistake I see in this one is players who react as soon as they register a player and stop moving, resulting in them not actually wide swinging. I debated including this skill check in the video because it demands more precision, but it does such a good job of countering these habits that I had to include it. The seventh skill check is the push-pull timing peek. A lot of players have a bad habit of rotating by pulling their knife out and facing the direction they are going instead of walking backwards and tracing a spot where an opponent might come from. In Iron and Bronze, immediate rotations are super common. This skill check means part of the team will push in order to prompt opponents to rotate. The other part of the team will wait for their opportunity on the other side of the map. If the opponents start to rotate carelessly, this is the perfect time to peek for an easy frag. Playing corners is the most cut and dry skill check. The bad habit is not checking corners. If they don't check corners, you shoot them in the back. If they do check corners and have a good reaction, or if they pre-fire, you lose. Your success is almost entirely determined by whether or not they have the bad habit. Fortunately, many do, and when they fall hard. Not checking corners is such a deeply ingrained bad habit that it is possible to do it for entire games without much adaptation besides complaining. Just make sure to switch up the corners in order to stay unpredictable. The ninth skill check is early aggression on defense, especially on maps with farther barriers or elevated positions like Icebox A-Site. A lot of players drop their guard early in the round in certain areas where it's less common to see early aggression. Pushing these areas for a quick pick can be a fantastic early advantage to snowball into an easy round win. This is typically best done with a duelist for the escape ability. In addition, I would recommend having a teammate set up a smoke to help you cover your exit, commonly most effective as a pre-smoke. As I mentioned earlier, I find this can be most effective as a skill check in maps with farther barriers because players are likely to stop paying attention, which is the bad habit this skill check takes advantage of. This means that areas like mid to courtyard ascent, B-side ascent, A-side icebox, B-side icebox, B elbow on breeze, and A short haven can be more effective. That said, I've seen players in Iron find an aggressive early frag pretty much every round against opponents who are expecting it. At the same time, early defensive aggression tends to be one of the actions players at any rank will adapt to fairly quickly. The variation in opponents makes this quite the mixed bag, so be careful and try to stop making plays like this before the opponents adjust to them. The 10th skill check is the Judge. The Judge is a special case because it combines a very high DPS in close quarters with incredible ease of use. This creates a very high time to eliminate that in practice can wreck weapons that have the same theoretical time to eliminate like the Vandal and Phantom. One of the ways to shut down the Judge is to quickly headshot the Judge player. Most players in Iron and Bronze aren't quite that quick and accurate, which isn't anything to be ashamed of. Most Silvers and Golds aren't either. Another way to destroy the Judge is to use distance to outplay the Judge, which also doesn't see too much use in Iron and Bronze. This particular skill check is awesome because you can often just loop it. Instead of properly countering the Judge, many opponents will just complain about the Judge and insult you while you keep destroying them. That's usually pretty good for your win rate. The 11th skill check is defaulting. Defaulting, per the name, is the standard, so many people don't think of it as a counter. However, it definitely can be. A default is strong because it threatens every area of the map. This lets you find the weakness if there is one. There is a mistake some teams make by not covering certain areas of the map, either because each player really wants to play certain areas, or because they keep switching positions and don't fill the gaps. Defaults let you scout for weaknesses and then smash weak areas. In addition, many players in this rank make the mistake of being extremely overreactive. If you're experienced enough, you can use this to pull opponents around the map to fall perfectly into your attack. If the opponents are more unpredictable, or you are less experienced with reading opponents, you can use the default to find the weaknesses that opponents create as a result of being overreactive. This skill check is awesome because, like the Odin, it looks like you are just playing normal Valorant. The opponents can feel like you are just better because you are always one step ahead of them, even if in reality you are finding weaknesses that aren't necessarily expected because you are simply scanning everything. Ultimately, skill checks are about turning the tables. Too often, the chaos of these ranks drags players all over the place. Skill checks are about becoming the one who is giving the test and putting the pressure on the opponents to pass or fail. I talk a bit more about skill checks and why they are so effective, as well as how to make them more effective in Skill Checks Extra Advanced, so look out for that video. In the meantime, I hope you found some value in this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Best of luck, everyone, and have a great day.